Hello and welcome to the A New Day show. I am extremely excited about this segment because, as you all know, that I am an advocate, if you may. I'm always talking about the advantages of eating locally grown foods. So joining me in the studio today, I have two amazing young women who are doing the very same for an extremely long time. I met them both over the summer when I went to the farmers market. You heard me spoke about it on a couple of segments in the past. And it so happens that Miss Camille Bevans is a food blogger, and I visited her blog and I just fell in love with all the information she had there that enabled me to educate myself and to really share some recipes with other people who are utilizing locally grown food. And sitting to her extreme right, to our extreme right, is Miss Tessa Bevins, and of course, yes, they are sisters, but they are two different experts. So tonight we're just going to have a lot of fun talking about foods, and we don't have anything for you to taste, but guess what? Who knows about in the future? We'll probably have a taste going on here. So ladies, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you,
Hi,
thank
Tessa.
you.
Thank you. So let me start with you, Tessa. Would you please look in this camera and just introduce yourself to my viewers?
Absolutely. Hello, my name is Tessa. I'm a yoga instructor, and I'm a student of Ayurveda, or the science of life. And I'm very honored to be here with Daphne today.
All right. Wonderful. Camille, would you please introduce yourself?
Hi, my name's Camille Bevans. As Daphne said, I'm a food blogger. I worked on a farm over the summer and enjoyed all the fresh produce that brings, and it really brought a lot to my blog, I think.
You know, Camille, I was so excited when I shop at the stand and we got into conversation, and I tell people it is so much fun to shop at the local market because you make some new friends. I remember the Delicata, is it the Delicata squash? It was my first time. It was my first time. I didn't know that squash.
Yeah,
so this is the Delicata, maybe, yes. So this is it. And I just fell in love with it. I look at it and it was so beautiful. I've never purchased it before. So I picked it up and I asked another woman who was picking it up too, and I said, how you fix that? And she said, well, I just put it in the oven and I baked it. And then when I came up to check out my purchase, I said to you, how do you make yours? And I said, she said, that's what I have for lunch. I just saute it in a pan with the
kale, the red Russian kale.
That kale you pointed over, the red Russian.
Yeah.
And I had bought it a couple of weeks before and I didn't know what the name of it was. So there I was getting on the spot education about the food. And I went home and I tried hers and I tried yours. And I got to tell you, I didn't saute my kale. I sauteed the Delicata squash. And the thing I like, you said you left the seeds in. So now I'm doing all my squashes and I'm leaving the seed in, and I just enjoy the chewiness of it. And that little thing, the pulp that pops out of it,
the crunch.
It is like when you do artichokes and pull on that thing and it pop out. So I'm just having fun.
And that's nice because it adds protein. So then you get a natural protein in your meal.
Right.
You don't need to take that out.
Exactly. So what I did yours first. I saute my squash in virgin olive oil with lots of garlic.
Yep.
And I turn the flame off and I just stir in my kale. So it was actually just blanched from the heat, so it was delicious. So thank you so much for sharing that. So let's go. You are very committed to a food blog. How long have you been doing that blog? I noticed you were overseas at one time when you started the blog. I was reading that article was from someone who contributed.
Well, I started the blog in 2009, I think, or 2008. I don't know. I was in college, and I didn't start it for the public. I started it because people kept asking me, well, what do you eat? You have all these food allergies. What do you eat? And I just really got tired of answering them in person. So I wrote down what I eat, and then I said, you just look at the food blog and you'll see what I eat. And the other reason I started it was because a lot of people would contact me and say, oh my God, my friend's coming to visit. I just found out they have these food allergies. I don't know how to feed them. Do you have any ideas what I could give them? Or my son has an allergy and I need to have snacks for them and I don't know what to give them for snacks. So I tried to organize my blog in terms of, okay, here are some good snacks, here are some good dinners.
Yes.
And then people can go educate themselves. When you get diagnosed with a food allergy, it's really scary. You
It
don't
is.
know what you can eat.
That's true. And people get so anxious. So on top of them getting the news of a food allergy, now they are setting up themselves for anxiety attacks because they really don't know what to eat. And it's really not difficult. But what I have noticed since I have transformed myself with my eating habits, I find out that people don't want to commit the time to educate themselves so that they can get the right nutrition for their body.
Yeah.
People just want everything quick, and people are so accustomed to go get the thing that is cheap. Cheap is not always good. I think that when we consider about what we are ingesting, we ought to put the best in our bodies.
And that's what Tessa was just talking about. She was coming back from an Ayurvedic
And
training. Yeah.
right, so let's talk about that. What's an Ayurveda? Would you say?
Ayurveda.
Ayurveda. What's Ayurveda?
It's Indian medicine. So when they talk about food, there's diet and lifestyle involved. But as far as the food goes, you are supposed to eat fresh every meal. If you can't eat fresh every meal, then you make for the day, and at the end of the day, you don't keep anything.
What does
That's
it mean
right.
to eat fresh?
So eating fresh means you cook every meal or every day, and you're cooking with your kale, your squash from your local farm. You're eating organic. You're not eating processed. You know, which is really hard when you go down the center. If you go to the grocery store, it's basically the outer edges of the grocery store. Don't go down the center, right?
That's right, exactly. You know, I like what you say, Tess, because a couple of years ago, I was privileged to meet a woman from France. And she was staying up in Waterbury with a friend of mine, and she went to the local farmer's market, and she had us over for dinner. And she said, it puzzles me when I open the refrigerator of an American, because you all have all this stuff in there. She said, when I'm home, we don't have all these foods and stuff because we go out to the stand every day. We purchase what we're going to eat, fresh. And I tell you, we were in the kitchen with her preparing the salad, and before the main course was finished, we had all the salad already. And that was that time when I said to myself, I grew up on a farm. My father was a farmer in Jamaica. And now as I look back over the way that Papa did his farm, now he would be considered an organic farmer because he didn't use any fertilizers and everything like that. Everything we ate was freshly harvested.
Yeah.
You know, and it is amazing. You feel so much better.
So much better.
Your energy is at peak.
Well, that's what they talk about in Ayurveda as well, is that eating fresh, number one, like you said, your energy is at peak. You feel the difference between eating, even if you talk about the standard American, okay, McDonald's versus a cooked meal. You feel that instantly.
That's right. Exactly.
You know, anyone who's ever had that
And your
feels
face
that.
clears up, your complexion clears
Yeah.
up, you get like a glow to you.
That's right. That's right.
And then within that, there's fresh food, and then there's the fresh food that's right for you.
Exactly.
And when you start to get to feel what's right and what's not, you go, okay, well, this feels not so good for me, but it might feel good in her.
Exactly.
So,
and that's why I'm glad you brought that up, Tess, because I think it was about 2 years ago. I invested in the book Eat for Your Blood Type.
yeah.
And oh my God, what an investment. I am so happy I did that. Because honestly, I feel different. I'm not walking around all bloated and everything because I am eating the foods that my body requires. And my body is responding to what it gets because that's what the needs are.
And if you can learn to listen to that and listen to what your body wants, then that's all you have to do. You eat something, you'll know if it's right for you, know if it's wrong for you, go experiment, try, but we've gotten so far away from listening to our body.
Yes,
We
yes.
put food
We
in our
block
mouth
it out.
and we think, okay, maybe it tastes sweet or it tastes salty, or okay, that tasted good, but how did it feel?
That's right. What's your body telling
you? And raise
you?
your children to listen to that. Don't only ask how did that taste, but how did that feel inside you?
That's right. Because, you know, every part of our body tells us. And I think we are so busy in the hustle and bustle and keep going. So we just ignore everything. We block out what our bodies is saying to us.
Yeah.
And I think we need to take a couple of steps back and begin to listen to the messages that our bodies are telling us because it's speaking to us. We are just not obeying what the body's telling us.
And maybe we're scared because it's scary to say,
scary.
okay, you're going to cook every single meal, you're going to cook once a day, or you have allergies and what are you going to cook? But that's where you go back to there are books, there are blogs, there are many free things and people who are already doing it. If you go to your farmer's market and you ask the farmer, what's a quick meal you make with this food? They'll tell you. You know,
That's
during
right.
the summer, we had barely any time. So
That's
what
right.
do we make? Delicata and kale, because you can make it in half an hour and have a meal.
And that's right. And oh
3
my God,
ingredients.
it is so good. It is so good. I'm telling you guys, they're still in season, so check it out. And it is so sweet too. It is
And
sweet.
not too expensive. The
Not
winter
expensive.
squashes, not that expensive.
And now is the time. It's this time of the
Yep,
year
this
now
time
where
of year.
people can utilize all the
And what's
squashes
better than
and
roasted
everything.
fall vegetables,
Yes.
warm hot apple cider?
Yes.
And some of the times, the farmers markets are actually can be less expensive than some of the vegetables you get from the grocery stores that are being
right.
imported.
Exactly.
And I know
Exactly.
that when you were in New Haven, there was even for people like food stamps.
Yeah, the WIC
Oh yeah.
program, the
Yeah,
farmers
yes,
food, the
I
WIC
noticed
program.
that. I think in Danbury. I don't know about the New Milford market.
New
but-
Milford takes WIC, yep,
Yes,
they accept WIC
because
program.
right, somebody said yes, they can go with their food stamps to that, and that's a that's a great
And
thing.
even more than that, if you ask the farmer, do you have any friends and family or do you have any damaged vegetables? They can often find some damaged vegetables and help you out. You know, the farmer wants to share their food. They don't want to
That's
throw
right.
it away.
I tell you something. The stand directly across from the one that you worked at. I am not right. I came to the market a couple of weeks ago. I came to the market and it was close to closing time, and that's the person I bought those round carrots from.
yeah, I've
they
heard
are
those
so
are really
sweet.
good.
They are good. I
have to try
roasted
them.
some, roasted some with my beets, and they are delicious. And on my way back to my vehicle, he said, "Would you like some peppers?" And I've never had the purple peppers.
Oh, yeah.
So he gave me quite a few green and purple peppers. And the thing that got me, he said, by the next time I go to the next market, they will not be fresh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's powerful. So he's making sure his customers only get fresh stuff.
Definitely.
Yeah. Well, like I was telling you on the ride here, at the farm I used to work at, it was we pick every morning. And so corn, for example, we don't put out old corn. I have fresh corn every morning. People say, like, you know, how fresh is it? I said we pick it every morning at the end of the night. They have a donation also for other vegetables that aren't fresh anymore, so
That's
over
right.
a day,
That's
a
right.
couple days, a week. And they donate to food banks, which is still fresher than your supermarket, but it's not considered.
Exactly, because when we look on the distance that the foods are traveling to hit our grocery stores and the amount of aggression that it has to go through, it's like the foods that we are really eating is abused before it gets into our kitchen.
Well, it's picked extremely unripe.
Exactly.
and
exactly.
then hit with preservatives.
And then ripened with gases.
That's
and-
right. That's right.
And then all that's going into your body.
Wonderful. So let's talk about Ayurveda.
Ayurveda.
Ayurveda. A-R-I.
A-Y.
Okay, no wonder I'm saying it wrong. A-Y.
U-R.
U-R.
V-E.
V-E-D-A.
D-A. Ayurveda.
Ayurveda.
It's a mouthful.
Yes. Let's talk about what got you interested in that.
Oh boy. Well, I've been teaching yoga for a few years and practicing. And at a young age, I had a lot of stress. I got sick a lot. I got mono. I got every illness that came around, all the sore throats, everything. And I actually go to a naturopath, and that helps. But even so, there's got to be some other answer. You go to the doctor, they run test after test, and there's no answer.
That's right.
There's no answer, and you feel terrible. So how come you're feeling terrible? There's got to be a reason.
That's right.
So this science basically looks, it's thousands of years old, and it looks at the environment and nature and how it interacts with the body and how we naturally move through life, and has developed a science that can give you answers. Okay, you're feeling too hot all the time. That's because of this. Now follow this avenue. And it's a little bit more intricate than that. It's not easy to put a general label. And it's integrative. It integrates everything. Like, you don't have to be a vegetarian. You don't have to
Be a vegan.
Be a vegan. You don't have to do any of these things. You can go on your Weight Watchers diet. You can do all of these things within perspective. It's about keeping a balance in your life.
All right. You know what, Tess? I'll have to have you back for your own segment to talk about that, because I think that there's a lot of knowledge there that we all need, including my listeners. So
Well,
we
I'd
are
like to come
definitely
back.
going to have you back to just focus on that topic. Let's go back to your blog. I've been to your blog. I've been going there and I've seen some of the feedbacks. But let's talk about some of the feedbacks and some of the benefits and advantages that people have been getting from your blog. What they tell you is happening to them since they start
it's
going
really
there.
turned into a place, it's really taken off beyond my wildest dreams. People share their recipes, they find recipes. Sometimes I have little articles on what it's like to live on a farm, or how to deal with diagnoses like cancer, just little snippets. But mostly it's a recipe-based blog. So you go on and you can get a recipe that's gluten-free, that's soy-free, that's vegan, and you can cook it up. And a lot of them are very easy to follow recipes. And you can change it, adapt it to yourself, and then people sometimes send me recipes back and I get to try them out. It's really fun.
I like the article, I forget his name, the young man that was working on that farm. Brian.
Yeah.
I read it and I was tearing up. You
He's
want to
great.
share about that article for the listeners?
Well, it's really something they should read themselves on my blog. They can get to the blog. It's glutenfree, soy-free, vegan.wordpress.com. And if you scroll down, you'll see, I think it's called Carrot Veggies No Meat. Oh my.
No, something. But
I don't
you
know.
know,
But it's an interesting article, and he talks about what it's like to eat vegetarian and to eat off of the vegetables that we grow on the farm, which is really an experience when you think about narrowing it down to not all the million options we have in the grocery store, but you're on a farm, eat from the farm, and
Yes.
what that's like, and it's hilarious.
It's
quite
and
a
what
good
got
read.
me, because he was not accustomed to this lifestyle,
No,
and he said,
not
you
at
know,
all.
how was I? The part that got me, he said, I was going to starve to death. How was I going to tell my mother I starved to death working on a farm? And I'm thinking, Brian, you're dead. You wouldn't be able to tell your mother. So somebody else would have to tell her that you starved. And, you know, and he said he was not promising anybody that he was going to be vegan or vegetarian, but that experience has just enhanced his life and empower him.
Really has.
And I said, what a story it was, you know?
And even from there, in the beginning of the article, which you'll see if you read it, but then at the end, in his life, as he was leaving the farm, he just went to college for the first time.
Yes.
And he
said,
was really nervous. He's like, what am I going to eat at college?
Yes.
They're not going to have the vegetables that I've become accustomed to that make
That's
me feel
right.
so good. Am I still going to feel healthy?
But you know something? Again, we just have to people have to make the effort to go out there, because I'm sure, I don't know what college he's going to.
Yeah.
But if he search, I'm sure he's going to find a farm.
Oh, I'm sure.
And as you say, farmers are extremely generous. And
They are.
what I love about Connecticut, our part of the state where we live, over the summer, every couple of miles you drive, you can see a food stand. Even if you think you don't want to go organic, at least it's fresh. And I think the farmers, they put it out every day.
And many of them go through the winter. There are many winter markets that sell carrots and potatoes, beets and kale,
Apples too.
apples. Yeah.
You're vegan, right? I mean, you are vegan or vegetarian?
I'm not either, actually.
Okay.
I was, and through various health issues, I'm now eating meat from, well, I have a farmer next door who grows his own meat.
Okay.
Or I don't know, that's a weird term, but.
No. It's,
So
I
I'm,
understand.
so I'm eating some meat that's sourced locally, and
Okay.
I'm still working through how I feel about that.
But let's talk about, you have been on both sides of the fence, and
I have,
as a matter
yeah.
of fact, 3 sides. Let's talk about some of the advantages that you have derived during those times when you practiced vegan and when you practice being vegetarian and back to where you are now.
Right, so when I went vegetarian, vegan, I felt incredibly healthy because it was my first time really eating so many fresh vegetables. Before that, I ate a more standard American diet. So I went vegan, I felt healthy, my complexion cleared up, and more than that, I just felt happy because I wasn't contributing to the suffering of animals. And factory farms are really hard. They're miserable places, and eating food that comes from them makes me feel guilty. And so being free of that made me feel light and joyful and just really happy. And I love the vegan vegetarian community. They're great people with passion about kindness and compassion, and I love that. And
You know, I didn't realize, I was looking on, I think it was a documentary or something. I didn't realize that President Bill Clinton was vegetarian, was vegan. And he had a meeting with somebody in his office up in Harlem, and there was this big banquet spread, and the man he was meeting with was a lunch meeting. But because of his vegan practice, he did not go out to a restaurant. They had it vegan catered.
That's awesome.
And
That is
the man
awesome.
walked in and his mouth fell open because he says normally when he think about vegan, he's thinking lettuce and cucumbers.
People don't realize.
People don't realize.
I get people all the time still. I still eat 80 to 90% vegan, and all the time people will come and eat, and then if I mention, oh yeah, I'm vegan or I was vegan, they say, well, what do you eat?
Yeah, because
well, what did
people
you just
think,
eat? You just ate a whole vegan
You just
meal.
had
And
a
they're
whole
like,
vegan meal. Yeah,
There was
it's
no
interesting.
influence.
You know, it's interesting. We have a little less than 5 minutes remaining, so what insight you want to leave with the listeners? I want to give you a minute based on your experience to just give some insight to to the viewers, and then Camille, I want to pass over to you. What you want to leave the people with? How should they choose the locally grown foods that they're eating? And just I want you to tell them, because there's recipe. A lot of time people say, well, I don't know how to cook. And why I like your blog, I haven't tried any of the recipes there because I'm working on a
you've tried
cookbook.
the delicata.
Yeah, the delicata,
That's on
but
there.
I got that from you before you. I want you to talk about how you prepare that for the listeners.
Well, it's at the first recipe on my blog right now. So if they
Right.
go on there, they'll see it, and there's pictures and explanations.
So tell them the blog again, because a lot of people say, well, I don't know how to cook. And that's the excuse they use for eating the junk that they eat because they don't know how to cook. And that's why I like how you put the recipes out for that.
Yeah.
So what's the nutrients that you get out of that? And I want you to lift up that kale.
Yeah.
No, I've never had, and I tell you, this kale is going home with me because we have never, I've never seen the baby red Russian kale.
This is baby red Russian kale. It's really high, well, dark leafy greens are high in all sorts of nutrients. They're high in calcium, surprisingly. People think calcium milk, but they're very high in calcium. And this is the delicata squash. I'm not a nutritionist, so I'm not sure which nutrients you're getting from them, but yeah, and so to prepare it, you just cut off the ends of the squash, chop the squash up, saute it in oil, add in the kale. If you add in some salt and pepper, and if you want to get fancy, you can throw in some balsamic vinegar.
Ooh, I didn't try it with the balsamic.
That's on my
I have
blog,
to go.
and you're good to go. So if you can't remember that, you can just check out my blog.
Yeah.
Again, it's gluten-free, soy-free, vegan, .wordpress.com. And I will leave you with that I didn't know how to cook. And I taught myself by reading cookbooks and just trying. So just
because
try.
cooking is an art.
It
Go
is.
in there to have fun.
Exactly.
You try something and you didn't like it, remove one of the ingredient.
Try again.
something else.
And you'll find cookbooks that speak to
Yeah.
you where every time you make the recipes, they come out great. And you'll find cookbooks where you make the recipe and it's terrible. Throw those cookbooks away.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Any last word for you, Tess?
Yeah,
We have
she
2 minutes.
really didn't know how to cook. I ate in the beginning some of those things. They were not good, and they are delicious now, though. So you should try their food.
Yes.
And experiment 80-20. They say 80% eat the good food, the fresh food. 20%, okay, you have your coffee, you have your little things that you eat that are not so good, but just experiment and don't give yourself a hard time. Have fun with it.
That's right.
That's how
you
you
know.
get there.
I just love ginger, fresh ginger, and now I'm making my shakes and blasts that I'm creating with my kale and all those stuff. And I started getting the powdered ginger. In the past, I've only used the fresh ginger. So, ladies, I am so excited that you came and spent some time with me, and thanks for your blog. I'll go and share a couple of my recipes there.
Please do.
And Tess, we are going to have you back
Excellent. I'd love
to just come back and have some fun with me. Continued success in everything that you do, ladies.
Yes, thank you.
And
Thank you,
Camille,
Daphne.
you know, I can have you back too to talk about some other stuff because we have a lot of stuff we can talk about here. So thank you for sharing your experience with us and for helping me to educate my listeners. So from us to you for a healthier you. Thank you again.